All right. I think we'll start. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard Dreiling. I will be facilitating this room with the help of my lovely and awesome coworker, Teyana Gilashvili. So this is going to be a session where we want you guys all to talk amongst yourselves. You can, of course, ask us questions if you want. But so we're going to, in order to kick this off, kind of just, we have a couple questions for you, and we will ask your experience. And if you choose, you can talk to each other or however you want. All right. We want to make this useful and practical. So, Tayona, I'm going to go on mute. Why don't you read the questions and then we'll start from there.
Great. Thank you very much, Richard, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. It is very nice to see you here because before I couldn't really see your faces. So I see a few people already have the cameras on. So that's great. Thank you very much. So yeah, as you probably already realized from our presentation, we here want to focus on this introduction level. So we want to understand not like deep technical parts, but rather enablers. So those important factors that help us to kick off and get started with the implementation of e-governance. So we have decided to focus on 5 very important enablers, which are legal infrastructure framework. Then comes the legal framework. And then we also want to focus on political will, trust, and knowledge. And with the knowledge, we want to focus on change management. So, but as we already said, every case is different based on the context of the country. So what we want from you to discuss is that what maybe challenges you see based on your country's context. What challenges might appear once you start the implementation process from the perspective of the infrastructural framework, legal framework, the political will, and then already to shift a bit towards trust and the change management. And again, if you have any questions or if anything is unclear, please just feel free to ask to us, or we'll try to maybe explain the question even further. And if we have volunteers, it will be great. And if not, then maybe we can just pick one. So yeah, don't be afraid, and yes, speak up.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. My name is Karim Boury. I'm really happy to having you with you and sharing all this experience between us, and more than that, hearing the Estonian experience. I'm one of the Algerian who is telling many years ago we have to ask the experience of the Estonian to hear from them how they did.
Is it my connection, or I think Richard, can you hear Karim?
Karim, are you there?
I think it's internet problem.
Yeah, it looks like it froze up. Does anyone know, Karim?
I think you are hearing me now.
Yes,
yeah,
we can
hear me?
Yes, maybe because I was now, without the video, maybe it will be a bit helpful in terms of the connection.
Yeah, that works, Karim. Just give us your question on audio, and it should help your connection.
I hope that you can hear me now. And I think I did my job because I saw the Tajuddin camera on. So I think he now is interesting to speak. I'm a kind of someone who break the shade. So I will be I hope that you are hearing me, and I will be very fast. Actually, as I was saying, I'm the CEO of a company who is working on a solution to digitize the relationship between the gov and the citizen. And at the same time, a national expert working for the ONU, the United Nations Development Program, the PNUD, working with the Ministère de l'Intérieur to try to digitize the mairie, the commune, the mairie town. So one of the big problems we are facing, like you were saying, Teona, I'm speaking about the knowledge maybe or the trust enabler, is that when we are trying to start working with the gov, they already have ID in mind, and it's very hard for us to change the ID. And the main ID, what is the main ID? Is they think that they can find today the total solution. I mean that we can digital everything right now fast. And we are trying to make them understood that we can improve the life of the citizen in a digital way, just with few first steps. And now we are already facing this problem that they are thinking that this first step are not, how to say it, are not available for, there is no value for this, and you have to do everything in the same time. And now we are fighting to make them understand this. And the second point is more infrastructure point. When we speak about an infrastructure, we need to speak about the management of the infrastructure. Now there is, a split between the management and the infrastructure. They think that the infrastructure is just having the equipment, the material, and everything will work alone. And we are trying to make them understood that we need to, first of all, have the people who will manage all these things, and even manage the software, not just the infrastructure. So this is the 2 points I would like to share, like a problem I'm facing. I'm trying to find solution, but I would like to share with all my friends, because I have friends in the room, and with you, my new friends from Estonia. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Karim. Also, I should let you know, if you have any questions for like sector specific questions, we have some of the Estonian ICT cluster in the room. So if you have questions for them, you can also ask. Karim, you brought up a good point. I think it's interesting when you're talking about like software development, you often get this concept of like waterfall versus agile, right? Like what you're talking, you have kind of, we want the perfect plan before we even start doing anything. I was actually kind of surprised to find out that Estonia's e-governance academy, who does a lot of these consulting gigs, trying to help companies, or not companies, countries with their digital transformation, they actually recommend that you take some small service that people use and then digitize that, make it an easy win, they call it, and then you can also start capturing data, how people use this, and then you can see where you're really providing value to the populace. And then you don't have to have, like, this is I guess a war theory. They say like a 70% plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow, right? Failing to decide is actually a decision in and of itself. Does anyone from the Algerian side want to respond kind of to what Karim is talking about? Are there any government stakeholders in the room who can share their experiences? Anyone from the Estonian ICT sector want to discuss what that was like? No. Go ahead.
I see someone, yes.
Is it Tajedin?
Tajedin, yes, Tajedin.
Tajedin.
Hello, I'm delighted to be among you and discuss the subject of digitalization. I have a question. What do you mean by enablers? Should it be a private or public substructure? How to create it? Give us an example from Estonian case. Thank you.
Ayo, you want to take that one?
Yes, I can. For example, if we take in terms of a legal framework in this case, what happens in Estonia is that, for example, when it comes to implementation of ID cards, and I think Richard also brought this example, so you want to make sure that legislative framework is in place. So once you bring this phenomenal ID card, you have to have it certain regulations to allow its implementation within the policy. So in your case, but for example, if I take the case of Georgia, where I come from, and there we had different aspects coming along with this. If the legal framework is supportive, then we face some other problems like trust. And I can also give one example about the trust, but in this case, the case of Georgia, because it also is related to the cultural or religious even background to the people and the community. Because for example, once Georgia started to implement ID cards, we had very strong opposition coming from the people. And what they would oppose is that they thought that having this barcode or even these numbers on the card would somehow harm their beliefs. So helping people, so this is one of the enablers, to gaining the trust among people so that they would start using the services you would provide. But I don't know, it is really interesting to think from the perspective of your country. Would you think there are certain areas like a trust or maybe different aspects of cultural background of the country that might be somehow hindering the implementation process?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, when we say enablers, it means anything that can help the digital transformation process. So whether that's like in your religious structure of the country, sometimes just the organizational structure of the country. So for example, like if you look at Estonia, you know, they have municipal level structures, but they also have like a very robust national government structure, which is like different than in my home country. If you wanted to implement anything, it would be like, how do we get Alabama to decide that, I don't know, you don't want to hang out in the woods and eat worms or something, you know, like it's a very difficult thing. So it can be, you know, how your ICT structure is, how mature, like it can be almost anything. So what we're asking you to kind of tell us here is how do you feel about, I guess, Algeria's digital transformation journey? What do you see that are barriers? What do you see that help? And then if whoever the translator is could translate Mokhtar's comment in the chat, I would really appreciate that. Any comments? Tajuddin?
I think we have no cultural or religious objection against.
Could you repeat that, please?
In Algeria, I think we don't have any objection, religious or cultural objection about going to the digitalization. The population are already ready to go.
Okay. Do you have anything that, I mean, so I would say that that's an enabler. If you don't have any like religious barriers, then that would be a good thing. What about your legal framework? Any comments on the legal?
Can I speak?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Oh, hello. I'm Professor Latifa Mehdawi. I'm coming from the University of Technology, Sciences and Technology, Houari Boumediene, USTHB. And as academician, I'm working on some issues related to e-governance. And what we are trying to do is to propose a legal framework, a general framework to modelize or to shape governmental processes using the laws, especially the laws of operational characteristics, I mean the executive laws. So what we try to do is to propose a mechanism, some mechanism to obtain what we call the abstract process. The abstract process we obtain is described in a language used generally in BPM domain, business process management domain. So we use notations, BPMN notations. I think that everyone knows what is this language. And after, what we try to do, what we are currently working on is to propose this general shape, what we call abstract process based strictly on laws, is to complete it, to become operational. What we are doing this because in a big country like our country, we have more than 1,500 mairie APC. I don't know what you call this in. It is the smallest piece in the organizational system in our country. And then we think that if we use this this type of shaping, we can then generalize more easily for all over the territory to implement some services. And this can be very useful to implement small services and medium ones to obtain in good times a good quality of service, because from the point of view of citizen, the more important is to reduce the time they spend to obtain, for example, a document, or to wait in a certain administration and so on. So we think that this approach could be of a very big interest for Algeria and even for other countries. Yes, and we have communicated this our works in different specialized conferences. So, and I have discovered the Estonian experience from several years, which is really a good one. Yes, but we should keep in mind that Algeria is pretty much bigger, and we have a big amount of citizens, of people. So we have the other problem. A certain part of our population is analphabet, unfortunately. Of course, there is a big effort to reduce this phenomena, but we think that all these factors should be taken into account. Thank you.
That's a great point. Thank you very much for your comments. First of all, it's great to have someone from an academic background in the room. And that's a really great thing. You know, like, I guess I kind of said something about it at the beginning of my presentation, but I was a little lost for words. But, you know, it really is important to look at things from your perspective, meaning like Algeria's perspective, because every digital transformation journey is going to be different. So you're organizing business processes at the municipality level. Are you working with government officials to complete this research?
Yes, every time we have to treat a case, of course we are approaching a government structure, and we treated different kinds of processes. For example, we treated a case with an analphabetism office, and we treated another case with a financial ministry, but it's not really in official. If we work under project academic research project, so we have partners in this case, in this framework. Okay. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Katie. You're muted.
Yes, hello. My name is Katie Valba from Estonian software company Actors, and also the cluster member. And I have just a question to our dear Algerian colleagues. As it was mentioned before that you have different registries already online, as far as I understood, for example, the birth registry, death registry, some kind of civil registry. Then my question is, do you exchange information between the registries as well, or the information is just sitting in the destined registries? Can someone maybe elaborate a bit?
I think it should be fast. The answer is no. And I think it's one of the part of the problem. I'm sorry, I'm just taking the words like this, the word like that. For example, they were speaking about the NIN, the National Identity Number. And now one of our problem is to find how they can give us access to this number, because everything is based on this number. And the number is kept by the Ministère de l'Intérieur. And when you ask to have access with API, for example, to this number, for the moment, the answer is just no. And even between the gov inside of the national organization, they have this problem. So now, for the moment, it's just like a black box. We, from outside of the gov, haven't access to this. So now, one of our problems is to say, okay, how we can sign in an electronic way? Just the story of signing, how we can sign. Do we use the NEN and the phone number and the scan of the signature? Or, but if you use the NIN, you can have an API asking the database to tell you if it's the right one or not. And it's a very, very practical case, but now we are facing this case. And the worst is that it's not just a story of that we are companies outside the gov. Even inside the gov, they have this problem. And I think now how to find the enabler, it's very, I think maybe it's a story of mindset, how we can remindset the gov, just how we can remindset them, how we can make a shutdown and reboot everything. But outside the gov, how they, for example, Tajuddin and Mrs. Latifa was saying that the country is big, and the most important, and I think maybe the most different part of this demography story is that we are young. We are 50% of the country, 50% of the country, less than 25-year-olds. So, and all these young people are using them phone everywhere. Is that it's more than Atawad. It's anytime, anywhere, and using only phone. And even in infrastructure now, we are facing, maybe it's a problem for companies, but for us like a citizen, it's good. We are facing the problem between the old network of internet using fiber and the GSM one, the 4G, 3G, and all the people are using the 4G, and we have at least, let's say, a good infrastructure of 4G. So people are ready, they are having phones, they are connected everywhere, anywhere. They are more and more connected in each part of the country because we have the phones and the 4G. But the problem now, to build this gate between the youth, because they are the most big part of the country, and the gov, is the story maybe of trust, I was saying like enabler, and how to build this technology gate. This is our problem now. We are facing this problem. And I think I'm not just speaking from my side. I think it's a global problem. But in a cultural way, many people say that we are Mediterranean. And like, because we are Mediterranean, so we are very energetic people. And we don't want to wait. So maybe because we are like this, if you are offering services to citizens, making them doing things fast, they will use it. Just because culturally, we are not people who can wait. We don't want to wait. And it's normal because we are young. So I think I'm trying to speak English, huh?
Oh, that's not a Algerian problem. That's a 21st century problem. We all have these supercomputers in our pockets. You know, like our phone today can do more than Hollywood, like a whole Hollywood setup could do as far as like 1995, millions of dollars. And we have better technology in our pockets. Everyone wants everything at the same time now. And culturally was the word. Culturellement. It's a cognate. We understood what you meant. Katie, do you have any response to that? Okay, go ahead, Tajuddin.
Okay, I have two messages to Ms. Mahdawi Latifa. First, I am the president of Algerian Group of Digital Actors. In Algeria, the overall literacy rate is 81%. Analphabet are not a lot in Algeria. We have 81% for people aged plus 90. Okay. The second, we need Ms. Mahdawi in our organization to help us in this fight. So I like to have Ms. Mahdawi with us in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You. So we need a person to be designated. So I guess we only have a couple minutes left. So I gotta bring this down, but we need an Algerian spokesperson to discuss what we discussed in this breakout room when we return to the main session. Do we have any volunteers? I have a couple people in mind, but I'd prefer if we had a volunteer. So who would like to do this? Okay, I guess the next winner on The Price is Right is Kareem or Latifa. Which one of you guys would like to do this?
The French said honneur aux dames.
What was that?
It's honneur,
ladies first.
Honneur, yeah.
Latifa,
Ladies
are
It
you
is
down?
ladies. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you willing?
What do I have to do?
You just have to kind of give a summary of what we discussed in this breakout room.
Well, I think we have touched the main points, the most important points, and if we can summarize all this, the first thing we should keep in mind is that every country should have its own experience. But this does not mean that we should not communicate with other countries or to be inspired by other solutions, by other success stories. But it is really, really important to know very well the context and the environment of our country to implement, because under my modest point of view, I think that having success, even for a little implementation, is pretty better than to manage or maybe to lead a big project that terminate with a big fail, which is not very good, even not good for citizens and not good for the managers, because there is really a good amount of effort to deploy. That's what I can say as summarizing.
Does that sound good to everybody in the room? If you have your camera on, can you go, I don't know, thumbs up, or does that sound good? Nod. Okay. Well, all right. So we're going to be closing this down.
Yes. One quick comment, if you can hear me, is that so it was very nice, Latifa, that you summarized it here, but we also have to summarize in the main session.
Yes.
I just wanted to make it clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And please, everybody go back to the main session.
Yes, and head back to the main session. You can return by clicking that link in the chat. Thank you all for your participation. It's been great being here with you today, and I wish you luck on your digital transformation.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.